Hi, this is Kevin A. Davis with Ink Pub, and today we're here to interview Aaron DaMommio. Aaron, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right. So I'm the author of Mach 6 Santa, which is be appearing in the Hidden Villains Duos anthology. And I write mostly fantasy, a little bit of science fiction, um, mostly focused on short stories. And I've got a million ideas cooking. And for me, the struggle is always to stay focused on one thing long enough to get it, nice and solid and out the door.
Nice, nice. All right. Well, great having you here today.
Thank you.
Um, so, I know you've got, you just mentioned the piece that you have, up in Hidden Villains, but what are you working on presently?
So I've got a story about a a woman who's like an herbalist in a forest, the last surviving member of a family of witches, and she's trying to figure out what she's going to do with herself, whether she needs to pack up and leave or what. And a wizard from the nearby empire shows up looking for the kinds of herbs only someone with her skills can provide. She has to figure out how to prevent all the might of this empire from coming down on her and the people she cares about.
Oh, cool. That does sound like fun. Um, so most of, what we're talking about is fantasy. Is that your preferred genre?
Yes. I mostly work in fantasy. I'm really enamored of kind of crazy premises. I lump superhero stories in with that, and I do a number of those. So I'm often looking at things like, what would it look like if some crazy superpower was real? What would be the downsides? This kind of thing you also see in a show like The Boys. Maybe not as gory as that show, but th they have a similar idea of what would be the negatives of something like someone without a pilot's license flying through the air high speed.
Definitely sounds like fun. Um, so we know your list is what you're working on now. Do you mainly work in short form or do you do long form as well?
Short form. I have the occasional idea that grabs me where I'm tempted to work in long form, but I'm still really trying to get consistent with finishing short stories. So
Okay.
yeah, I still feel like there's a lot to learn there. And it fits having a day job very well. My kids are only my kids are grown, so things are getting easier, and I expect to have more time. But for a long time, I was thinking about that, how to balance, parenting, work, and writing.
Okay. Yeah, I know I definitely enjoy both long and short. So it's been one of those things that, sort of goes back and forth, for me. So after, you get done with herbalist, you got anything in your mind that's next on the plate or anything working at? You say you come up with all these ideas at different times.
Yeah.
Is there something that you've got like after I get this done, this is what you're moving to?
So at the moment, I'm working on a writing contest with the Codex online. Writing group. So this is the Weekend Warrior season for Codex, and 5 weeks, 5 weekends of writing a tiny short story every weekend.
Okay.
Um, and that usually generates at least one story that can be fairly quickly finished up and sent out. So I'll probably focus on that next. Last year I was really focused on keeping things in submission, getting my numbers up. There was a point where I had, I think, 17 stories out, out waiting for responses at one time. And and I sold a few of those, and that means that now I don't have as many to put out there, so I gotta buckle down to the finishing again. Um, and one story that I'm excited about that's making the rounds is about a how do I describe this guy? He's an ambassador who's sent to Earth. This is a science fiction piece and a humorous one. So he's an ambassador from an powerful alien race, and he kind of shows up, but for him it's just this sinecure. He's just gonna, do his time and enjoy being the talk of the town, that kind of thing. And the story's about him finding reasons to take it seriously and he was sent there by his much more serious sister, and there's a sort of his people have the opposite of our American um, patriarchal thing. So as a man, he's not there's not much expected of him, and so that's flipped on its head. And anyway, um, it's called the minister's brother's daughter, and I'm shopping that one around aggressively because I'm excited about it. It's very uh, um, funny and warm,
Nice. Sounds like fun. Those things are always good when you can twist around a little bit of what's going on here.
definitely.
Um, all right. So outside of, your writing, you know, I'm assuming you got work, you got all the other stuff.
Yeah,
What's your outside activities outside of writing? Got
yeah.
any hobbies out there?
So many hobbies. In the past few years, I've been really focused on watercolor. I do a ton of postcards. I send birthday cards on a regular basis that are handmade. Um, and I'm lucky enough to have a kid who paints, and so I've been effectively taking painting lessons from my uh, 24-year-old kid. But this is something I painted recently. I'm excited about where my kid had me looking at Russian religious art, and so this is kind of copying elements and mixing them up. So this is not it's not exactly the same as any one part of the painting I looked at, but uh, takes a lot of elements. And of course, my work is much simpler than these Russian masters. But that's been really fun. And then board games are a big deal. Have been a big deal for a long time. My son is running a D&D game every Sunday night in my house, and he convinced me to join him, and it's been pretty great. I realized that I'd been avoiding such games because I thought I'd have to be the one running them, and my son's an excellent game master. That's been fun to experience. And I've started to get involved in volunteering with the local Austin, Texas group that runs Armadillo Con. Um, and so past few years I've spent been a pretty minor volunteer for that, but now I'm actually going to board meetings and stuff and trying to do more because it's been great having a local convention. This one is very focused on fiction as opposed to it could have been about comic books or anime or something like that, but this one's very focused on science fiction and fantasy writing, and that's been fantastic for me. So
Yeah,
those are the things.
I love working with conventions. I've got uh event up here in Atlanta. I'm in North Florida, and so I've been involved on the writers authors track on that one. So we have two writing tracks. One is the
Okay,
writers track, and one is the authors workshop. So I get to work on the author's workshop track, which I love because a lot of it is, Robbie does like a flash fiction. We have a Friday night that's like a review pods. So you bring in, 1,000 words and you sit in a pod and everyone goes through it. We have slush
it's
readings
great.
during the day, all these things. They're just so much fun
Yeah,
to to work with. So I love that because I get to see all ranges of people at this stage with what they're doing.
great.
So now, do you have a specific routine for your writing? For your writing, because I mean, we're probably going to have some writers on here trying to um, you know figure out how to get to where you are, to where you've got a dozen or more stories going out and some getting accepted and
Yeah.
working with that. So how do you find your time for writing? Is it a daily thing? Is it a
No.
weekend thing? How do you work that?
I think it boils down to making agreements with myself. I, for several years, I was working on with a daily goal of an hour and a half every day. And the pandemic really blew that all up. And I was not one of these people that just got a ton done during the pandemic. There was no, what do you call it? I wasn't a sourdough person or any of that stuff. I found the whole situation, I think scary and therefore not motivating. So for me recently, I've been trying to set my goals lower, but make darn sure I hit them. So I went down to just a half hour a day, and at one point I had 80 days in a row running. Whereas before I had these off days, and I don't know. For me, so I think over time you got to learn, your own rhythms. Some people insist on writing every day. Some people don't think that's important. For me, that's turned out to be important as far as keeping
Right.
momentum going. Um, but I also have this, I've been doing this Weekend Warrior thing every year since I think 2017, and it's so strenuous on the weekend. I probably spent 15 hours this past weekend. Um, that on the one hand, it generates a lot of work, but it's really makes you want to take a break afterwards. So uh, at the moment, I've been able to still do a half hour every day, but some of that half hour is just contest stuff. Like you're obligated to read other people in the same writing group as you. This is a contest where you write a 750 word story, and between 15 and 20 other people will review it. And that's really it's not so much a contest as it is a shared review activity. You
All
get
right.
rated, but you're not. There's no global thing really. It's just the other people in your group. So anyway, that then generates all these tiny stories where you've gone through all the steps. You've produced something that you hope is good enough for someone to look at. It's at least a first draft, but it's reasonably clean. You're hoping to communicate to an audience, and you've got some feedback. And so then it's easy to pick and choose from those and say, well, this one has legs, and let's take this one. Unlikely that the 750 word version is truly final because it's so short, but some things get blown up to 5,000 words, and some are more like a flash piece at just 1,000.
Hmm.
So uh, I think a couple of years ago I would have said, you gotta devote serious time every day, right? And here I am saying, actually, as long as I get my 30 minutes in a day, and I'm hitting it consistently, then every day I'm making progress. And so I feel like that's the keep adding to the uh, keep adding to the progress. That's made a lot of difference for me. And then um, I think I mentioned, I'm clearly concerned about jumping from idea to idea, lots of ideas to work on. So I try to establish, okay, I'm going to work on this project uh, until I get a second draft clean that I can send to somebody, or I'm going to work on this project for 10 days solid and then see how I feel about it. Um, to try and what I worry about is that I'll get to the hard part of a story and then say, well, I can always pick one of these other 100 stories I've got sitting here. A lot of them sound good. Um, anyway, that's where I'm at.
All right. Good, writing pieces because a lot of people do get very stuck on this is the only way to do it. And we learn that everything works different for everyone else, but
Oh yeah.
we can try stuff. And then if it doesn't work, discard it.
Yeah.
So do you get a chance to read it all? I mean, outside of someone else's work, outside of, critique group stuff, do you get a chance to, read any novels, any fiction? Is there stuff that you
Yeah.
do?
So I still read novels. I do find that the phone is a bigger distraction than ever for finishing a novel. And also, I think I've just read so many novels at this point. My standards have gone up, so I'm abandoning more novels than I used to. But recently, I read The Tainted Cup. Really like that one. Um, and that one's super popular, well known. But I also recently read something called That Devil Ambition, which is a kind of a dark academia book that has a really weird premise where these magic students have a professor who's actually a devil, someone from hell, and they got to kill him before the year's out, or else he'll kill them. And sounds kind of like an anime premise. I think it sounds kind of like Assassin's Classroom, I think is the one I'm thinking of. But it's uh, it's kind of a YA book that's very well done. Notably to me, you got these kids in high school, and everybody's got a crush on somebody, which I don't often see people actually, getting into it that much. Um, there's hilarious points where the main character, or yeah, where the main character is kind of saying, "Oh, well, he's not going to be distracted by having falling in love with somebody like those other kids are." At the same time, he's talking about some girl he's clearly in love with. Anyway, great book.
Nice.
Yeah,
Sounds like sounds like fun. Yeah. So I definitely appreciate authors that read because it does, even if it's not in your specific genre or outside of it, because we own a
oh
bookstore,
yeah,
so it's like we're always we have a lot of readers around us, and I'm always surprised, some of the authors that just, that don't read. And to me, that's part of, the, way that you can find um, styles and ideas and the way that someone brought something forward because different media is very different and learning from other authors by their actual work can sometimes be, I don't know, instrumental to me. But
yeah. And I read mystery. I read nonfiction. So the examples I gave were fantasy pieces,
yeah,
but
right,
boy, I do want to put a plug in for a book called Come As You Are, a nonfiction book I'm working through. It's just about the science of sexuality. And this book, uh, it just really kind of goes through the whole current set of knowledge about sex, and it's fantastic.
nice, nice. All right. Well, I like to keep them about 15 minutes. So I think we're right about that, a little bit over.
Okay.
But it was really great talking with you. And I
Thank you.
am looking forward to, seeing more of your stuff as we go along, because
Thank
I'm
you.
sure you'll have all kinds of stories out there. All right. Well, thank you very much, Aaron. And I will put in, you have your blog spot, I believe,
Okay.
with your link, and I'll make sure that that's in the, in the comments of the video or the description of the video so people can, follow you there and read up on your blogs and
Great.
all that good stuff and everything. So thank you so much for coming out here today. Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.